Hey, lovelies. I wanted to share this because just want to give an update. I'm just relaxed right now. I was supposed to work this weekend, Friday, Saturday, but I'm so exhausted and my eyes are like hurting for being on the computer, phone, and stuff. I'm guilty. But anyways, a couple weeks back, I was saying they found me, and I believe it has to be either my location or where I'm located. They're doing the same thing at the where I used to live. I noticed a pattern. And then also could be a tracking device on my car, which I haven't found it yet, but I know there is one. I have a contraption that can this is to test out electronics to see, to test, like basically it's emitting what is it called? Frequency. To see if there's a tracking or listening device on your vehicle and or in your vicinity. So, anyways, long story short, somebody had tampered with my engine, and there was a lot of handprints on my car, right? Because I had washed it and everything else. Went to the car wash, and there's a lot of handprints on my vehicle. Then I noticed that I had a certain document or folder or file rather that was for one of my lawsuits, and out of all documents, that particular file was missing. And then all of a sudden, I received a letter in the mail requesting such documents, So they already knew already. But I have copies. It was a matter of go print them out, whatever. Or it could have been inside where I'm currently putting up. And I'm pretty sure it was because I took them out of my vehicle when it was raining. And then two documents were missing, two file folders. And then one was mysteriously put back it was in my car, like in view, you know what I'm saying? So last week I went somewhere for an appointment, and next thing I knew, it was kind of weird because, some people were saying some innuendos in front of me, like gave me some shade. They said throwing shade, that's the word, sorry. So I call it innuendos. But anyways, I got back to my vehicle, and next thing I know, my doors were locked. And remind you, I do not use emergency brakes. So I got in my car, I started my car, but in reverse, it wasn't going nowhere. Then I put in drive, I went forward, it wasn't going nowhere. And my emergency brake was all the way up. Next thing I know, I was like, what the fuck? Then as I was driving, and I noticed my car was kind of like, it was acting weird. And then all of a sudden, my right rear brake, it was squeaking or making noise, like metal to metal. And then I got out my car, and then I noticed there was a nail in my car, or actually it was a screw. It's the same location as I had a nail in my tire, and it was scratched. And it's in my community board. You can see the other nail. Same tire, right side, second tread, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, this is done deliberately. And then where I was at, these two guys act like they're, I think it was a FedEx driver of some sort, about they're doing some signing, whatever. But they all look familiar because even the lady, I was like, you look familiar. And I didn't want to what's the word? I don't want to say anything like to misclassify her, like where I seen her, but I swear she was in the apartment complex where I used to live, and possibly one of my stalkers, because when I say look familiar, she was very hostile with me, very hostile, very rude, shrewd, and told me to sign here, sign there, and I'm like, I'm not signing nothing. I need to review this and the other. Everybody got mad at me because it's like they want me to sign some documents blindly, which that's not me. Because when you sign a contract, it's enforceable. So long story short, whoever it was, they tampered with my vehicle, and they was under my hood because my belt was kind of off the, I think I was called the pulley. It was off the pulley, and all kind of handprints on my vehicle. Next thing I know, I went somewhere Friday, and this person, an official person, he said to me, he said, "You look familiar." And you know, remind you, everybody in Sacramento, that's where I live, knows about those hidden cameras, be on the dark web, sexual videos, whatever it was about me. So I walked in and I said, "Oh, I'm the one about the mask, and you know, it's not law and blah blah blah." He said, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," but he was looking at me like, "No, that's not where I know you look familiar from." See, the rumor has it, I already got confirmation that where I was at, everybody knows it. They know me because of those hidden cameras in my apartment. And whatever camera, whatever video they had about me or stolen from me or videotaped me in uncompromised positions or whatever, the sex tape, whatever it is, they all know, you know? And it's going down, you know? And it all stemmed from that low vibing community. It will probably could be from other places that too. But I noticed that this place I used to live at, it was owned by an attorney and an investor who was colleagues of my ex's former attorney. She's now a judge in our courts. And I remember she kept, you know, hounding me, "What's your address? Where you live at?" And since then they've been harassing me, calling my job, you know, I was working before, calling my employer. I got fired from one, called another employer. They were harassing me. Like my mom was telling me, they don't want you to work. They want you to be on the welfare. And most part of it to keep me low, in destitution, you know, homeless. And also when you're on the welfare system or whatever, they can track you. Because, you know, they unlawfully go into these systems and check where you're living, your address, through the welfare system. And so they'd be harassing folks. And I remember it was a long time ago, I was on Facebook and someone, you know, just randomly told me to go underground. I'm like, underground for what? Like, why? They wouldn't tell me the reason why, you know? But I think most part of it has to do with the child support case because they unlawfully did the child support all wrong. They made it a custody case in a child support hearing without my knowledge. Well, they did it erroneously anyway. You can see the records, you know, unless they probably destroyed some records. But I still have copies of them, majority from the beginning and towards the middle of the case. Some of them they've been stealing from me and come to my apartment I was living at. They took my CDs, or disc, whatever, my memory cards, from all my computers, even my son's computer, you know, for school computer, whatever. The people are notorious. And my family's involved in it too. They forged my signature on some things, some documents, just the hate and jealousy because they knew they were deficient. You know what I'm saying? Even though, yes, I'm poor or whatever you're going to call it or classify me as in destitution or whatever, I'm a very smart woman. I'm very observant. And they want to keep me in stagnation, in this poverty mindset, or not even I don't have that poverty mindset, but the poverty keep me low because the people who did me wrong, they're of low caliber, they have low IQs, and I have documentation to prove it, and I have some of these people's medical records. You know what I'm saying? I say help a lot of people thinking that, you know, because I don't prejudge anybody because, you know, everybody has their, you know, their own issues. I don't talk about nobody's problems or issues, but, you know, I hold a lot of secrets. And if these people want to go there, I will go there. You know, I know where some of these people live. They've been on my phone. They've been hacking my shit. And, you know, one person told me, you know, well, I can't say it anyway because it was quite obvious, but they're ruining their own lives, you know what I'm saying? Because they went up against me. For what reason? I have a right to redress, I have a right to complain, and I think most part of it with the child support case that I had was in my case that ruined my family, ruined my life, you know, basically 30 years of my, well, I say 20 years of my life, 20 plus years of my life for bullshit, and the judicial system would not give me the remedy because they all know that they pay me heavily. That's why they're trying to, you know, poison my food. And part of it has to do with my inheritance too. But this has been ongoing. But I started reflecting back for all these years. Like, I was involved in a hit and run accident, crossing the intersection. The guy had no license plate in front and back. Turns out this same individual I seen at my apartment complex. And I remind you, this accident happened in 2001. And the same couple or similar couple was at the apartment complex I lived in 2022. So I was like, huh, how ironic. And so I think that part of that what has to do with my monies that I had no clue about. I had gas in my unit, so I was living somewhere else. My axle of my car, it was all of a sudden it was broken, you know, in the middle. It was shaking, then it broke. I was on my way to go to work at the time on the freeway. I couldn't go nowhere. I remember my ex's attorney at the time, she's Nigerian, and she was like, what's your address? Da, 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 da. And as soon as I gave my address, then my car, all of a sudden, my axle in my middle, my axle, it was like in half. I was on my way to work in the fast lane, and just I heard a boom, like a thump, and I couldn't go nowhere. I could have got an accident at the time. And another time in 2003, somebody hit me from the behind. Now we're at standstill traffic, you know, 5 o'clock traffic. This van, old van, was speeding and bam, right behind me. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm thinking like back, okay, it was all premeditated because they knew, because you know they have access to the system. They knew about my policy and my inheritance. They knew about my mother's death. I mean, well, she was not sick, but she was, you know, she was sick. She was blind, and she had her caretaker, which my mom never told me anything until after the fact. People were telling me what was going on in the home. But of course, my mom couldn't trust anybody, you know, because she was blind, but she didn't want to say too much because she, you know, she knew. And that's why she kept telling me, well, if Tima come by and visit sometime, because she wanted to tell me some things, but she knew. And they're going to pay for it, all of it. And they're all involved. I don't give a fuck what nobody said. The fire department, the police, because the fire department will come and the apartment complex where I used to live, well, if it's actually them, randomly, late hours of the night with no siren, it's coming through the apartment complex, putting shit on people's cars. I've seen it from my own eyes. Sheriffs coming there with no sirens, calling them property management because they thought I wasn't home to take my documents. As soon as they found out I filed something with the federal court, that's when the sheriff deputies came in. They were upset. And all the maintenance members were coming around, acting they were sweeping around the premises. And then they thought I wasn't home because my car wasn't there, because they wanted to come in and take my documents. That's what they do to people who fight back. And then another woman I knew, I was in this group, and she was suing the hospital and the school system or something about her child. So she left her documents, her computer at home. She left. She said she came back home. There was no forced entry. Stay back in my place. And that's how I learned from her too, in the system. And I watched a lot of videos too about this court system, what they do, and the corruption, and everything else. And long story short, she left, she came home, and she put her purse down or something on her desk, and she noticed her laptop was missing and her documents. But then she thought maybe she misplaced it, because, you know, some of us, we get sidetracked. She looked around, nothing. She looked at her room window, no forced entry, no busted window, nothing. Everything was locked up. And then she said at that time, the hospital was prolonging. There were, continuance. They were prolonging the case. This is pre-COVID. This is like many years back. And she said the next thing that she knew, when her documents were missing, they moved forward with the case. And then she said she asked for discovery. They said, oh, it doesn't exist. Because they took her evidence. And when they gave her anything, then she lost the case. That's why now I learned, and I know who's stealing my documents. My recent folder, ironically, this file that I had with all my federal stuff, mailing, what is it called? The certified mails and the return mails and all that type of stuff, the folders, all that type of stuff, everything, you know what I'm saying? It was in my file that I had. And then out of all files, I was in my car. The other ones were not really junk, but they're like nothing like really significant. But out of all the files, this particular file was missing. At first, my mom's file was missing, and all of a sudden it reappears in my car, in view. You hear me? So now, I know who's doing it, and I know who's involved. But I mean, basically, everything that's coming to them, they deserve every bit of it. And I'm not gonna shed no tears either. Like, how dare you? But overall, like I said, one guy, he was like, you look familiar, because he knew, that I'm on the dark web. Everybody knew about it. There was too chicken shit to tell me. It was up to, I mean, it was kind of confirmation, because, listen, I'm going to tell you a story. They sent me this guy, right? Long story short, the dating sites, whatever, they're all the same. They're all the same people, have the same MO, same verbiage, same everything, right? And these men, they don't like women. You can tell they were gay men. Come on now. And, so long story short, the guy was rubbing my leg the same way I rubbed this other guy's leg, right? We're out, karaoke, whatever, long story. And he said, "Can I buy a TV?" And he said, my stimulus money, whatever. And he was like, yeah, I want to buy, can you buy me a TV? He say some things that, that why I buy my apartment. So with this particular guy, when I did something, he would say everything that was in my apartment. Like, how do you know you even been in my apartment? So that's when I knew they were all involved, from the rapper to the studio to the cousins and the friends and the restaurants, and they all mentioned the same restaurant, they mentioned the same club, they all mentioned everything, including my family. Same thing. Even my family, so chicken shit. They knew everything was going on, and then plus they didn't know anything. That's why it's going down. You know what I'm saying? They kept their mouth shut because they're jealous. Everybody's jealous of me. For what? And they still stealing from me, and I got shit. Stealing from me, rearranging things, coming to my apartment, snooping around, tampering with my food. I already knew, but I had to get the proof. You know what I'm saying? I knew, because I see that they do this stuff. It's like, what's it called? Oh, yeah, gaslighting. It's a psychological, like a warfare. They'll move things around. Because I had a lot of stuff too. I came from my house and I moved to that small ass 890 square feet apartment, or 70 square feet, 870 square feet, I believe it was. And so there's no storage, no nothing. It's a hole in the wall, basically. So I leave home, I come back, I'm like, I thought I put my stuff right here. And I know where I put my stuff, because I have certain things I put in certain areas, so I can find it, I can get it, and I can go, right? Like my restraining order, it was moved, it was taken. My traffic documents, that were taken. It was on my bookshelf by the front door. Stuff that was hidden. It was, they were saying, oh, you have a Walkman? Oh, tarot card? Like, how you know all that? And it was in the back. It was hidden. You know what I'm saying? So I already knew they came in my apartment. My mother's picture of my dad, it was took it off my bookshelf. I think a couple years back. And then all of a sudden, when I moved, like a tarot messenger had said, oh, you're going to find your stuff when you move. They're going to put it back when you move. Sure enough, it was in the kitchen. It was everything. Okay, well, this is on my bookshelf. You know what I'm saying? My certificates, my degree, my phlebotomy certificate, they took that out of my backpack. It was under my desk. They still didn't return that back. But I'm just going down with them. I'm telling you, that community is all corrupt. I saw a lot of things. That community opened my eyes to what I didn't even know that even existed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never experience it in my life. I know, I mean, even when a person told me they were for the county of Sacramento, I was like, I really didn't believe it. But then I saw, then I heard, then it was confirmed. Who was a court clerk? Who was hiding documents? Who should I get close to me to find information? One person knew about my apartment. They were like, oh, you should be cleaning up in there, blah, blah. I'm like, damn, how you know all this? This person had never been in my apartment. The person that supposedly had passed away, well, the community had said they ain't dead. And I was like, I'm looking like, okay. And one woman, she said, girl, they playing you. He ain't dead. I was like, what? So if that's the case, the sheriff